Let's turn now to the Middle East and potential for fresh fighting between Israel and Hamas. Tensions are reaching a breaking point as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu threatens to resume its operations in Gaza if Hamas doesn't release hostages by this Saturday afternoon. Hamas says they will not release any more hostages until Israel fulfills its end of the ceasefire deal by letting Palestinians return back home and allowing Gaza to receive humanitarian aid. President Trump also vowing to take action if all hostages aren't released this weekend. Joining me now, I have Moshe Lavi. His brother-in-law, Omri Miran, was taken hostage from his kibbutz right in front of his family. Moshe, thank you as always for joining me. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Let me just start with these escalating threats coming from all sides of the war here. I mean, with President Trump saying return all 76 of them by Saturday, Netanyahu saying, I will restart this war. Do you support that tactic, or would you rather stay on course with the agreed-upon ceasefire deal?
I'm not a policymaker, so I don't know what the plans are and whether this is a negotiation strategy or actual threats that are going to be implemented. What I do know is the following. Hamas violated the agreement a few days ago when they said they're going to halt all releases. In the past day, they started to backtrack following those threats made. I also know that President Trump stated numerous times that his goal is the release of all the hostages and the return of those who are alive, and those who were murdered to be buried in the land of Israel. I hope that this is still the aim, that this is still the goal that we in Israel and, of course, here in the U.S. Are aiming for. I wish I knew whether this tactic will support this or not, but at the end of the day, policymakers make the difficult decision of how to act. And our role as citizens is to hold them accountable in the aftermath and make sure that they hear our voices, which is why I'm here in D.C. this week.
Yeah, and the waiting game for you continues. I mean, what your family has endured for the past 16 months is just unbelievably painful. Your brother-in-law taken in front of his own kids, that whole scene playing out on Facebook Live. He's expected to be released in phase 2, right? Have you gotten any update or word on his latest condition?
Yeah, you are correct. He is going to be included in the second phase of the deal, which is why many families of hostages have been trying to call policymakers to expedite the negotiations, to expedite the time framework for the second phase. We don't know much about Omri, but yesterday we were allowed to publish to the media and to the wider public that we receive a proof of life from one of the hostages who was released in the past few weeks. That gives us a lot of hope, a lot of strength to keep going. We can feel him. We can see how close we are to bring him home to my sister Lishai, to their daughters Roni and Alma. But the path there is still so long, and there are so many obstacles on the way. With our different interests at play, sadly, both in Israel, where there are policymakers, politicians who are trying to obstruct any progress for implementing a deal. And of course, our enemy is Hamas. They're not good faith partner. We cannot trust them to allow this to happen.
Yeah, it's impossible to trust a terrorist organization. We've seen the first of the Israeli hostages be returned. And also last night, we had this huge moment back here on American soil where teacher Mark Fogel was returned after 3 years. I mean, obviously, very different stories, countries, context here. But what do you make of some of these first, images of seeing hostages returned under this new administration? And what do you make of President Trump's first few weeks back in office?
To your first question, it gives us joy as families to see other families who were in our shoes until very recently reunite with their loved ones. It gives us hope because it means that we can still save Omri. Omri was featured in a psychological warfare video back in April 24 with Keith Siegel, a U.S.-Israeli citizen who was kidnapped from his kibbutz. And Keith returned to his family, to his wife, who was a hostage herself, and to his children. And we want to see the same reunification with, in our case. When it comes to President Trump, your second question, we were happy to see the dynamics change on the ground, to see that the agreement is finally being reached It was initiated by the Biden administration, and then Trump came in, and even before his inauguration, made changes in rhetoric, and I think pushed the different stakeholders to agree to a deal. I hope that the strategy will continue and that the prioritization of bringing home the hostages first as a key to any real change, long-term change in the Gaza Strip in our region is still in the mind of the elected officials, including President Trump.
Well, we are keeping a spotlight on this story every day, especially through this weekend, to see if that big breaking news comes to pass. Moshe Lavi, thank you so much. And we're praying for you and your family and Omri this morning. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, please keep us posted.